From legends past like Reed, Ewing, and Frazier, to stars of recent memory like Carmelo Anthony, some of the most iconic names in the near 80-year history of the Knicks. Well, we polled our post sports reporters on the Mount Rushmore of Knickerbocker greats. So who made the cut and who was left out? Has Jalen Brunson's meteoric rise under MSG's bright lights vaulted him into a spot amongst the biggest legends in the history of one of the NBA's flagship franchises? Well, but before we reveal our Mount Postmore, as we're calling it, here's our writers with their thoughts.
So on my Knicks Rushmore, I have Clyde Frazier, Patrick Ewing, Willis Reed, and Jalen Brunson. Well, the first three, I think, are permanent members of kind of the Security Council of the Knicks. You could argue among all three of those and have a great argument who the best Knick of all time is. It's kind of been that way for a long time. Obviously, with Clyde and Reed were the cornerstones of their two champions. And so a lot of older Knicks fans will always be partial to them. Patrick Ewing was clearly a great Knick, clearly one of the top 25 or 50 players of all time. He played his whole, the bulk of his career with the Knicks. Jalen Brunson is the newcomer. And look, until he came along a couple of years ago, you could have had a good argument about who the fourth member of that Rushmore was. Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, Carmelo Anthony, Bernard King. King probably would have been my fourth on that list. But obviously what Jalen has done in his first couple of years as a Knick has really brought him into the conversation. Look, I think he's probably got to take another step with his team, play in a finals, win a finals, before you can kind of consider him with either Clyde or the captain, Willis Reed. But to me, I think that's a pretty formidable foursome.
My Knicks Mount Rushmore is Willis Reed, the captain, self-explanatory. Won 2 titles, was the emotional leader of that team as well as an MVP player, a no-brainer. The second no-brainer is Clyde Frazier. Played on both those championship teams. Had a remarkable Game 7. I think Willis Reed gets, deservedly a lot of the credit for coming out of that tunnel in that game, but Clyde Frazier was the star of that series for the Knicks. The third no-brainer is Patrick Ewing. Spent a long time of the second golden era as a superstar, was the #1 draft pick, rookie of the year, and took the Knicks to 2 NBA finals. And then the fourth one was a little bit more difficult, but I went with Earl the Pearl Monroe, Hall of Fame player, won the championship for the Knicks in 1973.
This one wasn't that hard for me. I think there's 2 obvious ones at the top, the 2 greatest Knicks in the franchise's history, and that is Clyde Frazier, the legendary Clyde Frazier as a player and as a broadcaster. His impact on the team, winning 2 titles, is just undeniable. As well, all the records that he has with the team, his brilliant performances in the finals, can't deny Clyde Frazier. Then you have Patrick Ewing, leads the team all time in scoring and in rebounding, one of the great defensive players in team history. Didn't win a finals, but went to 2 NBA finals. So didn't get the title for the Knicks, but he's one of the greats of all time, and he is well known and linked to an era of 90s basketball with the New York Knicks. Then for me, you got to put the captain, Willis Reed, because one of the greatest players of all time. When you talk to Clyde Frazier about those 70s teams that won in 1970 and 1973, he's always going to talk to you about the leader, the captain, Willis Reed, what he meant to the team, how he kept them together. And then he also was a beast on the court. This was a guy who could get off his own shot, could score, was tough, was strong in that era, and he was tremendous. Now, the last spot here on the Mount Postmore is where I think things are going to be a little bit tough and can get dicey for some people. And usually on these lists, you don't have a lot of recency bias here. And I'm not saying I'm being biased here on this, but the 4th spot to me has to go to Jalen Brunson. And it's about what Jalen Brunson has done in his time with the New York Knicks. It has been very short, but he's been a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He's gone to a conference finals and has just been tremendously clutch. Won Clutch Player of the Year in the 2024-2025 season and just seemingly continues to get better. So Jalen Brunson could be moving up this list, but to me, even though it's a short period of time, he's already on there. He's more accomplished than some other stars who've been here before him. So I understand in the honorable mention list for me, you're going to look at Carmelo Anthony, who obviously was a tremendous scorer, has an iconic moment with the Garden record for scoring, but didn't go as far as Jalen Brunson. Then you have Bernard King, another tremendous scorer in the late 80s for the Knickerbockers, who is beloved by a lot of Knicks fans that I think is there. And I think the last person for me in the honorable mention is Earl the Pearl Monroe, another great scorer paired with Clyde on that 73 team. And you like what he did there, but those guys to me just fall a little bit short in what Brunson is meaning to the Knicks right now. So that's my Mount. Postmore, you've got the great Walt Clyde Frazier, the great Patrick Ewing, Willis Reed, and Jalen Brunson.
All right, you've heard from our team, but here is the official Mount Postmore for the New York Knicks. All right, so we've got Patrick Ewing, Willis Reed, Jalen Brunson, and Walt Clyde Frazier. But we want to hear from you guys. Do you agree with the list? Who would be on your Mount Rushmore for the New York Knicks? And remember, this is just the beginning, y'all. We're going to bring you the Mount Postmore for every New York team. So make sure you subscribe to Sports Plus to get full access to this series.